Hi everybody, welcome back to another Main Street Celebration Bench Pillow Along video. We are in week 5, going to make an adjustment this week. If you're watching these as they're being posted end of July 2026, you know we're having some computer issues at the house. We're having a new computer built to help with all my video filming, uploading, compressing. It's getting really complicated. So I'm a little short on time this week, and I'm also trying to catch up on our home sewn, our jelly tote insert, and a bunch of other projects. What I'm going to do today, I'm going to move the borders to week 6. What we're going to do is work on our windmill block. So it'll be a shorter video. If you're just joining in, that'll give you time to go back and start from the beginning. And in week 6, we're going to work on the borders. And if I've got enough time, it'll be borders, assembly, and embellishments. If I need a little more time, I might bump this to a 7-week timeline. Thanks for your patience. I appreciate your understanding, but we're going to start today on our windmill block. I do have everything cut and prepped. I talked about prepping for this in the first video. I also have everything cut and prepped for the borders. If you're going to make the patchwork borders, that's the outer border right here. Before next week, if you want to get ahead, and what I may end up doing off camera is looking at the picture and just getting the patchwork sewn together. Got everything ready, my materials, my instructions, my thread. I'm going to go ahead and do my hooping off camera with my light mesh cutaway. This is the last block for the video series. You've seen me hoop plenty of blocks. We're going to head over to the machine and get started. Go ahead and load our quilting file and our embroidery file. I'm sitting on my little chair. If you watched my latest video, perfectly pieced spool block pillow behind my back, it's the perfect size for my little chair. I love it. Let's go ahead and bring up the background quilting. We've done this before, so it's the same steps. The windmill block is a skinnier block. I'm going to be using the 4x8 quilting. This pattern is Stars 11. It's part of the Star Spangled Beauty Bundle, or you can actually buy it separately. Let's go ahead and add our windmill block. Like all the other blocks in this quilt, it's kind of centered. I'm going to account for the seam allowance as I trim. I've been doing that throughout the bench pillow series. Let's go ahead and save that to our machine. I'll do the background quilting off camera, and then we'll pick up again after the quilting. And remember to skip through the first couple steps. If you're doing the background quilting, it stitches out a little line and a little box. You don't need that if you've done background quilting. The background quilting is all done. I'm going to switch to the color camel, and we're going to start by stitching out the windmill frame. We're going to switch to sterling for the next 3 steps. I'll go ahead and run those together. We're going to stitch out the windmill foundation, the windmill blades wind trail, and the windmill blades placement lines. We've got our placement lines all stitched out. I'm going to cover that with the shiny embroidery leather. That's what came in the embellishment kit. I'm going to add my tape, and then we'll stitch the tack down. Got that tack down. We've got to trim everything outside of the tack down lines. You're going to be left with the windmill blades. There's no decorative stitching. You don't have to trim out the inside circle. There's going to be a little circle and a little post that gets embroidered. So we're just trimming outside of the fan blades. Once you've got that trimmed, you can switch to black. We're going to stitch out the windmill post and center hub. Next up is the back corn husk fill. That's the color aloe, the darker green, and then the corn cob fill. I used the brighter yellow for that on the last block. The farmhouse block, I believe, had little corn stalks. I'm going to go ahead and run those 2 steps together. The next step is switching the thread to white, changing the bobbin thread to the visible color, and stitching out the corn silk fringe. If you watched the last video, I can't change to a visible color. My machine only likes 90 weight bobbin thread, so I tried the water soluble thread. It didn't turn out as planned. I'm actually going to skip the white thread all together. Then you can see what it looks like and decide if you want to do the same. But if you can change to the colored bobbin thread, you can go ahead and do that. White thread on top, colored bobbin thread underneath, stitch out the corn silk fringe, then make sure to change your bobbin thread back to regular bobbin thread. I'm going to go ahead, like I said, skip that step. I'm going to put aloe, my dark green, back on the machine, stitch out the corn stalk and front corn husk fill, and then after that I'm going to switch to my lighter green. It's Glide Avocado if you're using the Glide colors, and stitch out the husk and leaf detail. I'm going to go ahead and run those two steps together. It's just like we did on the farmhouse block. The corn stalks are all stitched out. They look great without the white. You do not need the white. If you like the way it looks, go ahead and stitch it out, but I actually prefer the way this came out over the way it came out last time on the farmhouse block. We're going to work on the rocket. We've done several of these. The first step is the rocket fuse. The next step is the rocket spark. My rockets are backwards. I reversed the glitter vinyl the first time. I've talked about that already, but letting you know just in case. Then I'm going to stitch the rocket body placement line, and I'm using the red glitter for the rocket body and the white for the tip, backwards, but it came out okay. So we'll stitch out the placement, tack down and trim my red vinyl, and then I'll stitch out the placement for the rocket tip in white, tack down and trim the white vinyl, and then you have to heat set it before you put it in your pillow. I'll do that at the end after everything else is done. And you're going to want to be extra careful heat setting this because you don't want to get your iron on your windmill embroidery leather. Since we've done so many of these rockets before, I'm going to go ahead and run it all together. The little rocket is all stitched out. Remember to heat set that vinyl and be careful of your embroidery leather. Don't get your iron on that embroidery leather. We're going to stitch out the fireworks and the eyelets. The first color is red. I'm going to go ahead and go with the darker red that I've been using for the fireworks. After the red, there's going to be white star and fireworks explosions detail. And then yellow. I'm going to go with the yellow that I'm using in place of Jubilee. And then after that, we're stitching out the eyelets. I'm using my really dark blue for that. I'll be adding gemstones instead, but the eyelets are going to help make sure that I get those placed correctly. I'm going to go ahead and run all that together. We've done that on every one of these blocks. Everything is stitched out. I need to go heat set my vinyl. Again, be careful of your embroidery leather. We're going to trim the block, and while the windmill part here was stitching out, I went and I looked in the instructions and I laid out the patchwork border. So we'll have a look at that. We're ready to trim our block. This block is not the size of one of the orange pop rulers, but I have another ruler I'm going to share with you. I just got the Kimberbell rotating cutting mat. This was on sale during the Kimberbell Day sale, but it is designed to fit the orange pop rulers. You can see it's square instead of round. I've already heat set my vinyl. We need to trim this to 4.5 by 8.5. I just happened to recently purchase a 4.5 by 8.5 inch ruler. It's a Creative Grids ruler. I'll go ahead and link that below. I need to double check and make sure that I only have 1/4 of an inch down here for my seam allowance. I don't want anything to look like it's floating. The corn stalks go further down than the windmill base, so I'm going to measure off of the windmill base. I'll line up that 1/4 of an inch, and then I need to find my outside lines right there, right there. Make sure I've got this where it needs to go, and then I can go ahead and trim all the way around. Let's get a look at our windmill block. Got my 1/4 inch at the bottom, and again you can see here's the top stitching line. That's going to get hidden in the seam allowance when we put everything together. Turned out great. I really like the way the corn stalks look like this without the white on it. They're just a little bit cleaner. Looks good. Let's look at the layout for our patchwork border. I looked at the pictures in the instructions. I'm going to say please feel free to double check, but I believe I have the layout correct for the top and the bottom border. Before the next video, go ahead and stitch everything together in a row. I debated quilting these block by block and then stitching them together, but that would create an awful lot of seams in the border. I think it would look kind of weird. I haven't decided on my quilting for this yet. I do have a couple of ideas. And then we're also going to have the inner border as well, the skinnier border. And there are some embellishments to make. We've got a little mini quilt we've got to put together. There's a dimensional sign and some mylar balloons. So depending on time, I might do borders and embellishments as one video and then a final assembly video. But if I can get it all together next week, I'll go ahead and do that. Thank Thank you for stitching along with me again. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. If you're considering doing any shopping after watching one of my videos, the links for everything Kimberbell is below in the description box. I do get a small commission as a Kimberbell affiliate, but more importantly, it lets Kimberbell know people are watching and enjoying my content. There will also be a link below to my private Facebook group. You have to answer one security question that helps keep out the bots and the spammers. I always post updates to schedules, any changes, anything interesting sometimes that I see that I think people in the group might like. Everybody can share their work. It's been a lot of fun. I'll be back next week on Thursday for the next Main Street Celebration bench pillow video, and we'll either finish it that week or the week after. Again, thank you for your understanding with the schedule. There's a lot going on. I have about 8 projects over there getting ready to get put on the channel. If you like Kimberbell, you're in the right place. I'll see you next time, everybody. Bye!